はい。皆さん、こんにちは。ジョーです。今日もですね、業界の、このクリプトの領域で、活躍されている方にですね、来ていただいてお話をお伺いしていくということを、していきたいと思います。で、今日はですね、ドバイの方でトークン2049というカンファレンスが行われていて、そこに来てくださっております、エリクサーの、コファウンダーのフィリップさんにですね、お話をお伺いしていきたいと思います。Okay, so Philip, from from here, everything in English. So thank you so much for your time. I'm pretty happy to have you honored here and asking a lot of questions here. And now we have a Japanese audience. So is it okay we start off with you introduction or introducing yourself to the audience, please?
For sure. Yeah, happy to do so. My name is Philip Forte. I'm the founder of Elixir. Really quick on my background. So I've been in crypto since 2016 when I started the Carnegie Mellon blockchain group. I was the president there until I graduated from Carnegie Mellon. I ran a company called Block Venture for a little over 2 years until about 3 years ago when I sold that to go all in on Elixir. And so, we've been, one of the co-founders of Elixir. We are a full-time team of 15, 16 people in New York. So currently based in New York City. But yeah, happy to dive into Elixir, what we're building. That's the super high level of my background.
Thank you so much for your time. And then, so okay, let's just go straight to the point. What's the Elixir? What's the problem that you guys solving?
Yeah, so fundamentally, if you are an order book based exchange, there is no way for you to trustlessly bootstrap liquidity to your order books. The only way for you to get liquidity on your order books is going to one of the 3 or 4 large market making firms, and you pay them a bunch of money and you sign a contract. And there's really no way for retail parties to actually supply liquidity and earn a share of these incentives that these exchanges are already paying out. And so Elixir is building a modular blockchain built to power order book liquidity. So we have over 30 exchanges that are launching trustless native features of their exchange powered by Elixir on the back end, right? So users could come in and supply liquidity to pairs and not even know that Elixir is powering that. And so we have, we're live with Vertex, RabbitX, and Bluefin. Currently, they've all launched the Vertex Fusion, RabbitX FAMM, and Bluefin Nexus. And we power more than 50% of the order book liquidity on each of those exchanges, right? So if you go to any of those exchanges and you open a trade, chances are you're filling an Elixir order on the back end. So that's really the high level problem. We have native integrations lined up with DYDX, Hyperliquid, Apex, Orderly, all these different guys. We have our first centralized exchange that is actually natively integrating Elixir too. So this is a problem that all of these different exchanges face, and these protocols are facing as well. And so we really want to be trustless infrastructure that these guys can lean on to drive delta neutral liquidity to their order books.
And then I created the tutorial video of Elixir, and then over 25,000 people already watch it. But I think we have 2 products. One is the liquidity pool for all these specific dexes, and now we have things that we lock the ETH and provide the liquidity. How is it like differentiated from each other?
Yeah, so any exchange can plug into Elixir and natively integrate Elixir into their actual front end. And so that is what currently a lot of those USDC pools that you'll see are, right? So we have a community run aggregator page that essentially lists all the different pools, right? But as we're continuing to go live with more and more of these exchanges that are reaching out, we have leading AMMs that are now going to be moving to order books powered by Elixir. All of these markets, essentially, the goal is not to have 15 to 20,000 pairs like listed on a site, right? The way you would obviously conceptualize that would be something more similar to like Uniswap, right? Which has like tens of thousands of pools. But we've been trying to push a lot of the deposit withdrawal flow to the exchanges themselves. But that is, you can go in, you can supply liquidity to a certain pair on a certain exchange. And our protocol will layer essentially a bunch of buy orders and sell orders on the books. And the LP has the same risk return profile as a Uniswap V2 LP, right? Or near identical, right? So we bring a very familiar risk return profile. It's maker only. There's no arbitrage across these pools or anything, right? This new ELX ETH product that we're launching is essentially a natively yield bearing token that you can mint against Ethereum. And what it does is when you mint this token, it backstops liquidity on all of the top exchanges that are natively integrating Elixir, right? So DYDX, Hyperliquid, Apex, Vertex, RabbitX, all these different, Bluefin, all these different exchanges that are order book based, they all currently are facing this issue. And Elixir, by minting this one token, allow you to earn the rewards of all of these different exchanges. And so that is currently this ELX ETH product. We're working very closely with Delphi Digital, and they said that they estimate on the actual order books across all of DeFi, there's roughly 150 to 200 million in open orders for all these order book based exchanges. And within the first month of launching this ELX ETH product, we already have 150 million roughly in liquidity. So once that gets on the books, I mean, we will power the majority of order book liquidity for all of DeFi. And then that's just, and then there's people that are building out other use cases using Elixir as well. But really it's something that we think is going to be really just showcase also the cross-chain nature of Elixir, and be something that is like very easy. You don't need to look at 1,000 pools to figure out what you want to do, right? It's something that's denominated in ETH. You could just mint it and, or you could also in the future potentially mint it with USDC or USDT. And just backstop liquidity across, the entire DeFi space. So it's supposed to be like a much easier, like one-click way to supply liquidity instead of having to go per pool, per exchange, which is like obviously still very, very doable, and will continue to be doable because any exchange can launch any, everything is per pool on the back end for Elixir. So any exchange will be able to tap in and launch their own Elixir integration, right? Using the connectors and everything that we've provided. And then we just power that liquidity for that comes in. So, yeah.
And then liquidity has been the major issue for the DEX. And then it seems like you guys getting a lot of traction, not just from the user base, but from the investors. But how did you come up with the ideas? And then why did anybody else make anything on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good question because market making, I think, is something that the term itself, market making is very complex. Like people don't understand. I think the big kind of aha moment for me was market making in traditional finance is a profit, it's a profit driven endeavor, and the profit center is different from this market making in crypto, right? In traditional finance, the actual P&Ls and the profits from the trading is where the firms make the money. In Web3, that's not the case. These guys are being paid a bunch of tokens and cash to just essentially run very basic scripts. So I was very close with a lot of the biggest market makers, and they were running very basic Hummingbot scripts to deploy liquidity on the order books. And I was like, there's no reason that a decentralized protocol couldn't do the same thing. And so, that was why we've seen such an immense day one kind of traction from all these different exchanges. We actually originally were looking to target this for token projects, where a token project obviously is facing the same thing, us included, right? So if you're going to get listed on a major exchange or any exchange, they're going to ask you who's your market maker, and you need to have one. And it's because if you don't, you're not going to have any liquidity on the books. And so token projects face the same issue too. And that is something that we actually have a firm that's building on top of Elixir that's trying to solve that issue for token projects on centralized exchanges using Elixir's stack. But yeah, so that's really where the issue actually originally, that was the initial kind of catalyst where I was like, there really is no reason that these order book exchanges are paying these firms just to provide basic liquidity on the books. They're not running super sophisticated, strategies where they're, in traditional finance, these guys they're Tower Research is a really large market maker. They buy skyscrapers over key fiber optic infrastructure to shave off a fraction of a millisecond on their latency. Nothing like that is happening within these traditional market making firms or liquidity provisioning. So it's more of a basic liquidity provisioning, and that's where Elixir fits in, right? So we actually don't even really consider ourselves too competitive with a very advanced centralized market making firm that's trying to earn pennies, right? And arb to different. It's a completely different game. We want to be trustless infrastructure that these parties can lean on to bootstrap liquidity to their books, right? And so similar to how Uniswap has X times Y equal to K curves, right? They set that as the standard. Elixir is the standard for order books.
I see. I don't want to talk about the token price here, but the value of the Elixir is heavily, rely on the volume or the market size of not just the DEX, but also centralized exchange. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think, I'm not able to really talk too much about the specific value of ELX tokens or whatnot. I do think that we have closed our Series B, and I think a lot of the value there people see, right? A good example is Celestia, right? people see, okay, Celestia is the winner for data availability.
Yeah.
All these different chains and parties that are building on these chains are leaning on Celestia for this data availability. And I think they have that kind of crucial underlying infrastructure component that people recognize. And I think for Elixir, it's the same thing, right? A lot of parties are going to be leaning, and currently are leaning on Elixir for delta neutral liquidity, right? So like on those, I guess as those examples I had mentioned earlier, Vertex, RabbitX, Bluefin, more than half of all of their order book liquidity is powered by Elixir.
Yeah.
So those exchanges are very reliant on Elixir to power their order books. And so it's the same thing when we go live with DYDX or Apex or Hyperliquid, all these different exchanges, right? We want to make sure, obviously, that like Elixir is like obviously the network needs to be resilient. We need to have perfect uptime. We need to have low latency, right? And so we've built this stack from the ground up for this use case to solve those issues. And I think the market recognizes that. And so that's kind of how our guiding North Star for Elixir is to really just kind of proliferate as this crucial underlying infrastructure that all of these parties can lean on for delta neutral liquidity on their books.
Yeah. You already briefly touched upon the roadmaps, but can you explain what we can expect, and then what could be like token launch, if you can talk about, or what's coming, what the integration and so on?
Yeah. So yeah, we have a bunch of things in the roadmap right now. So we have some pretty big announcements lined up, obviously, for the next few months that we've been working on kind of behind the scenes. I think that, to date, when I look at our company, our BD has been one of the strongest. Yeah. I think we rival a lot of the top 10 protocols in terms of like just pure BD traction. But I think like engineering is definitely something. We're always hiring more engineers. And so we've been pushing very hard, obviously, towards our mainnet launch. So I think there's the biggest release is coming up. We have our testnet v3. That's going to be going live in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So people will be able to spin up a validator on Sepolia. We'll have fraud proofs posted to Ethereum mainnet. We'll start onboarding these institutional validators, a lot of the big, like Coinbase Cloud type, providers who will be validating the network from day one and getting them involved. And then from there, we have our mainnet going live in August. And so that's with mainnet. Mainnet will also launch the token alongside of that. It's actually needed for the actual mainnet like to work properly, right? Because otherwise the validators have nothing at stake, right? So it's the token actually serves as a crypto economic, like core kind of crypto economic component of the system for security. And so it's actually it's needed for the successful mainnet launch essentially. So these existing like native integrations that we have right now. Because we have testnet v2, and that's we have like roughly 14,000 validators that are coming to consensus once a second. But we have a subset of those that are actually participating in consensus, right? And so for these existing native integrations, we essentially are running a private version of testnet v2 coming to consensus, right? The foundation is running those nodes.
Right.
And so the goal is mainnet, we roll all of that into our actual mainnet. So the mainnet Elixir network is actually securing all of these. And so that's in August. With that, our ELX ETH with deposits and withdrawals will be enabled. And so our team is just heads down, pushing hard towards mainnet. Our apothecary is obviously live now, and so that'll continue to run through our mainnet launch. And then I think that's kind of like the most immediate timeframes for the next 3 to 4 months. But there's obviously a lot of other like big announcements and stuff that'll be kind of dropping along the way.
Okay.
So
Looking forward to it. And then before the Token 2049 in Dubai, you went to Japan, right? You had events with the Kudasai and so on. I saw that. How was it? How was the experience in Japan?
Oh, it was great. It was my first time. So I actually haven't been out to Asia too much because like in my life I just haven't really traveled too much when it comes to checking out new places. But it was amazing. Like I actually spent like an extra week just exploring, checking out Tokyo. So that was great. The Kudasai guys are obviously amazing. Yeah. We're probably going to be doing some sort of mainnet delegation. We'll delegate some foundation tokens to them as well because we want to obviously like they've been huge allies from day one. And when we look at like our web traffic and just in general, like in our Discord, like there is a large community of people from Japan. And so we want to like be able to answer their questions and like, cause there's questions that they will like, we'll make announcements in English in our Discord, and I'll talk to our team, and I'm like, a lot of our community is not even, doesn't even speak English, right? So we want to make sure that the proper news is getting to them. We're able to talk with them, answer concerns. Like a lot of the times, like we just want to make sure that we're kind of have a bigger presence, and that they know that like, like they know what I look like. I'm doxxed. Like they can trust like that it's, there are a lot of projects obviously that are like, the founders are like anonymous and stuff too, which is, totally fine for some other protocols. But for us, just answering questions and building up kind of a presence is something that's a high priority for us. So we'll be back out actually for the WebEx conference.
Oh, nice.
So we'll be back out in September, August, September. I think we'll be also going to like Korea Blockchain Week and some other conferences as well. But no, I'm super excited. It was great.
Cool. And then through my channel, a lot of people checked out my tutorial videos and so on. And we have a, I think, pretty big interest in your product. Well, lastly, just I want you to give the message to the audience. They're pretty excited about what you guys building. So last message before you go.
Well, I think definitely if you're interested in learning more about Elixir, we've finally onboarded a lot of like community mods and things of that sort. So feel free to join our Discord. Follow us on Twitter. A lot of our big announcements are going to be going there. I think as Elixir continues to proliferate, like, it's very important, I think, like branding and narrative. And so if there's ways that like, if people are able to spread the word, then that's great. Like, and tell their friends about what we're building. It is like a very kind of like, it's a minute problem, but it's wide reaching, but it's something that a lot of people don't understand is like, if you're a normal guy and you're not living every day in crypto, it's something that like that is something that is like very hard, right? Where it's like you won't see the issue that order book exchanges are facing, or these just like centralized and decentralized exchanges. They're all facing this issue, and then AMMs are facing this issue because they want to move to order books because then you get the traders, you get the leverage, right? And if you have leverage trading, obviously you get a lot more fees in exchanges, so it's a lot. That's why perp dexes make a lot of money. But the issue is like, oh, well, how do we bootstrap liquidity? So a lot of them haven't done that, but now they're starting to do that. And so that's what a lot of our big announcements will be, like household name AMMs. So as those big announcements come, I think just being able to spread things within the local communities, like if there are questions that people are having in Japanese, like in our Discord, like feel free to respond to those too. But we'll try to have like a better kind of presence in our Discord too, just across the board. Because I mean, we've just had like an overwhelming amount of inflows. So, but yeah, if anyone has any questions, obviously they can reach out or ask in our Discord, and we're more than happy to help. But I would definitely follow along on those for just like the latest news and everything.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. I know you have to go, but feel free to come to my channel anytime if there's a great announcement. I'm looking forward to working with you from here also. If there's anything I can do for the team, I'm pretty happy.
Awesome. Well, no, I appreciate it. This has been a pleasure, and I've checked out your channel a bunch in the past, and I'm a big fan. So
thank you.
Thanks for hosting this, and
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.